Hey everyone, my name is Nachum Russell, or Russ to most of you, because most of you can't say my name, but that's cool. And this is my friend Martha. Martha, how do you pronounce your last name properly? I think I always say it wrong.
That's okay. It's Cardon.
Cardon. Okay, so I was saying Cardon, but it's close enough.
Yeah.
Cardon. And Martha owns Cardon Ranch Canine in Kansas City, Missouri. It's a really awesome place. It's a lot of fun to watch because she's not just a dog trainer, she's a mom and she has animals and a huge farm. And like, how big is your place? 50 acres?
20.
20? Okay, to me it's the same thing because I live in New York City, so like 1 acre is already huge.
Yeah, I know.
So Martha, for those of you guys who don't know Martha yet, first of all, go follow her right when this is over. But you want to introduce yourself a little bit, tell everybody what you do, where you are, what your program is like?
Sure. Yes. Okay. So my name is Martha Cardon, and Cardon like garden. I've heard it pronounced so many different ways. And I am a wife and a mom to 4 little kids. My husband and I have been together almost 11 years. And our oldest is 8. And then there's a 6-year-old and a 2-year-old. And then Darby, who's 2 months old now.
And Darby's adorable.
She is. We have 3 boys and a girl.
I think it's worth following your page just to see your Darby pictures every day. I love it. It makes my day. She's so cute.
Oh, I'm so glad because she brings as much sunshine into our life. So we're really glad to have her finally a girl.
And it's like I feel like I get to meet her because like I get to see her grow up a little bit. So it's really cute.
Well, and they change so quickly. I mean, I don't know if you noticed, but I look at her and I'm like, wait, when did you get so big?
Yeah, it's every day. Every day she's different. Like every day she's a new person. It's adorable. This is like, I mean, you know better than me. You're a mom. I don't have kids yet, but like this is like the stage where it happens so fast. Where it's like if you don't snap those pictures every day, you're gonna forget how different it was.
Yes, you're absolutely right. And I feel like when we had our first, we weren't into like Instagram and all that stuff. So I'm like, we missed out on a lot of his life because we didn't document it. And at the time I felt like I was being really like, present. I was like, oh, well, we're just enjoying the moment and we're not going to, take time to take pictures and videos. Who needs those? And now I regret it because it's a big part of my life now. And think of all the memories we get to document. So yeah.
Like Julie and Josh, they made a page just for Jessie, just for their baby, right? I think that was the cutest thing. Yeah,
it's a really great idea because it used to be like scrapbooking and all that stuff. I never got into that. I'm more into like, point and shoot. I'm not making anything look spectacular. I'm just going to take a picture of it. And we have filters and we got all kinds of stuff to make it look great afterwards. But memories, they're fleeting. And this time of our lives is every day is different. Everything changes so quick. So yeah, super grateful to.
And it's cool that like, Instagram allows you to have like an easy digital photo album, basically, right? Like I have a friend who has his regular Instagram page and then he has a separate one just that no one follows. It's like private and he uses it just to collect his photos and his videos, like so that he can have it.
That is what a great idea. I think you gave me an idea.
And you don't even have to you don't have to be on Instagram anymore because you kind of disappeared anyways. And
we'll talk about that. I think it's important.
Yeah, I would love to hear about it. So I would love to know how you got into dog training because every trainer that I speak to has a different story and it's always very interesting.
Yes. So, and all of this is described on my website and on my Instagram page. So if you don't follow all the details, that's fine. You can go back and reread it if you care to. It doesn't really matter. But I got into dog training like so many others with a dog that was struggling. And we were, if anybody's out there with kids, you know that having kids and a dog is a lot of work. And it's like having an extra kid that has sharp teeth and digs in your yard. It's like, it can be really challenging. So, with a normal dog, an added dog that has behavioral issues, and then you're in over your head. And so that's where we were. I was 6 weeks out from having one of my babies, and I was like, this is a great time to go adopt a dog from the shelter. No, it was not a great idea. It was a terrible idea. Yeah. Anyway, so because you're about to have a big change in your life anyway, and adding a whole nother dog, and we did not, now in hindsight, it would be advice that I would absolutely not stand behind because it was just kind of stressful. But we adopted our dog Rosie from the shelter, brought her home, did everything wrong, had her sleeping in our bed. She was pulling us all over on walks. In fact, she had pulled so hard on walks previously that she had collapsed her trachea. So attached to a leash, she was a monster, and she was reactive to everything. And so we just gave her all the freedom in the world. We were like, you're so calm at the end of the day. You just lay on the ground and we snuggle with you. Why can't you be like this calm like the rest of the day? Yep. We let our kids climb all over her. We let her go up to anybody and everybody. Well, you know, just like a lot of dogs that you and I work with, Russ, she was an adolescent. And so quickly she decided that she did not like other people and started showing signs of aggression. And so here we are, not to us. She wasn't aggressive toward us or to our kids. Thank goodness. Yeah. But she was aggressive toward people coming into the house. And, you know, it started out as reactivity, but then she got a lot more offensive, right? So she would start to actually go for people that were minding their own business. So it became really scary. Thankfully, she never bit anybody. But of course, here I am. I'm like, you know, this new mom. Now I have this baby, and I'm about to take away my kid's dog, and a dog that I fell in love with too. It's so amazing what these dogs can do to us.
Even when they're like that, right? It's like we still fall in love with them even when they make our lives crazy.
Yeah. It's like, why? But, you know, they do. And depending on what you do with it that's what matters. But so we sent her back to the shelter. And of course, I was just heartbroken. So I was looking up at the same time we inherited, in a way, a dog from a family member. That's our dog Daisy. Yeah. And it's actually kind of funny because we had the opportunity to welcome her into our home the day after we took Rosie back to the shelter.
Oh, so, wow.
I mean, that really doesn't happen very often. And she's a great dog. I mean, she is service dog quality. She was bred by people who were hoping to submit her for service dog training. And so she just has that kind of foundation. She's just that sound. And so that stark contrast from what Rosie was. And I just could not stop thinking about Rosie. I've got this great dog, and I just had this nagging feeling. So of course Daisy needed training. So that's what kind of got me into looking at Caesar and Jeff Gellman and, you know, just trying to figure out, okay, so if I want to train this dog who's just needing obedience, where do I start? And then it kind of got me into the rabbit hole, you know how YouTube can be. And I started looking up things on like how to rehab aggression. And I was like, I don't know what I'm doing, but I could not stop thinking about Rosie. And I saw all the success that Jeff had with dogs with aggression and with severe reactivity. And I was like, well, maybe we could be hopeful. I mean, maybe we could fix Rosie. I mean, as cliche as that sounds, that's what I was thinking. Here I am trying to figure out obedience and thinking about how to help this dog I don't even have anymore. So long story short, we went back and got Rosie from the shelter and brought her home. She and Daisy did not get along. I mean, of course, Rosie has all these issues, right? So my husband's like, Rosie's got to go back to the shelter. And I am just broken. I am in a bad state of mind. Okay. And so he takes her back to the shelter with the tail between his legs because here we are bringing this dog back for the second time. Anyway.
So people are like, these people are
crazy. So then I went into hyperdrive. You would think that it would be said and done, but if you know me, you know that I am extremely determined. And, you know, I just knew that there was a possibility that she could go out and be adopted by an unknowing family like us, bring her into their home and have the same issues all over again, except this time she could hurt someone.
Right.
And I'm thinking about that late at night. And as I'm watching, how to condition muzzle videos, it was like insane. So anyway, I just woke up one day and I said, kids, we're getting in the car, we're going to the shelter, and we're bringing that dog home. I was prepared to do crate and rotate the rest of their lives. I don't even think I could do this again because it was just so stressful. When you have two dogs in the house that don't get along and they're both kind of new to your family, I mean, everything was wrong.
Yeah, and you have a little baby and another kid.
Yes. Nobody in their right mind asks for that. And so I was just like, I was in it. And little did I know that it would send me on the path to where I am now, which is a life that we wouldn't have if it weren't for that darn dog.
It's all Rosie's fault.
It's all Rosie's fault.
Every client of yours can thank Rosie.
Yes. Yeah.
Your story is like, okay, it's kind of crazy because you dropped the dog off, got it back, dropped the dog off, got it back. But there's something really special about trainers who what I find, because I've spoken to a lot of trainers. I haven't been training that long, but I speak to a ton of trainers. And what I found is that there's like almost two different types of trainers. There's the trainers who got into it because they just are passionate about dog behavior and like they're dog geeks, right? And all they care about is dog behavior and dog psychology. And then there are the ones who got into it because they struggled with it themselves. Yeah. And it's like it's a part of them. And they know that struggle so much that they want to help other people with it. Mm-hmm. And I think obviously there's something special about both. But what I love a lot about trainers like you, and I have my story with my Marley, is that we can literally say we know exactly what you're going through. We can tell the client that and not just be saying it because it sounds good, saying it because we really mean it and we know that struggle. And I think that clients, like, even, I don't know about you, I'd never worked with a dog trainer. I did training myself. But I can understand being in their shoes and like somebody actually looking at them and saying, I know exactly what you're going through and it could get better. Like that's a very powerful thing when it's real. And it's a special thing, the trainers that have that. So I appreciate that. And I'm sure that clients appreciate that a lot.
Oh, for sure. Yes. Well, and I think that goes with anything that you're trying to do, whether it's, you're trying to build muscle and hire a personal trainer, or you are hiring a tutor and needing help with a certain subject, with you're getting your master's degree and you need some help, or you're in third grade and you need some help. It helps to know that that person has been through something that you're going through, and that level of empathy only comes from experience.
Absolutely. Yeah. Michaela in the comments wants to know, how did Rosie end up doing? She wants the rest of the story.
Let's talk about that. So we ended up doing crate and rotate for quite a while, like almost 2 months, I feel like. And then I realized that I could go to a Jeff Gelman seminar. And so that's what I did. I loaded up my family. We were here in Kansas City and we drove to Denver, which is where we're from. Loaded up all the kids. We made it a family vacation. And I walked into that seminar so broken. I mean, I was driving there felt like, I'm like, if this guy can't help me, I don't know what I'm going to do. I was literally at rock bottom. I mean, it's so crazy to think that a dog could bring you there. But when I was starting to feed my passion of dog training, right? And just trying to get my bearings. I didn't know up from down. And so having such a handful was really, really challenging and also intimidating. So I walked in there with my e-collar that I had never used. I'm like, okay, this guy swears by the e-collar. I'll buy one and I'll bring it with me. And so I got it. And of course we get to the seminar and I literally walked up to him and started bawling. I'm like, I don't even know you, but I am hurting.
Yeah, it just broke.
I need your help. And so of course, if you've ever been to a seminar of his, you know that you're going to leave with all of your answers or all of your questions answered. And so it was a great 2-day seminar and it was awesome. I felt so confident. I went home. I trained up both of my dogs. Of course, watched probably hundreds and hundreds of hours of YouTube videos. Yeah. I have a degree in YouTube University. Okay, let's just put it that. Okay,
listen, it works. There's so much information out there.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yes. So whether you're starting a garden or you're, training your own dog, there's a lot of information out there. So but there's a lot of information that's wrong too. So you have to use your discernment on a lot of things. But came home, and that was in December. And in March, I had a friend who I was at her house, and she had seen all the success that I had had with my own dogs. And so she was like, well, we're thinking about getting this dog off of Craigslist, and would you want to train it? And I was like, oh my gosh, I've been hearing about this thing called a board and train program. Maybe I could do that. Maybe I could do that with your new dog. And she was like, yes, okay, it's a black lab. And I'm like, oh, I have a lab. They're probably so similar. And I'm like, yeah, totally. So they go pick this dog up and bring it directly to my house. Gunner was a 100-pound black lab. I didn't know this until midway through training, but who had slept on a lazy boy recliner the first 3 years of his life and had broken out of every kennel that his owners ever put him in and destroyed their house multiple times. And his owner was getting rid of him because she needed a double knee replacement because he pulled so bad.
Oh, wow.
I know. So
what a great first client.
I mean, talk about just diving into the deep end.
Yeah.
So I put him on the boss. He tried to break out of his kennel in my kitchen at 4:30 in the morning, his first night. And I'm like, okay, here we go. And just jumped in and got him fully e-collar trained. He lives on, another 20-acre ranch, no fence. He's doing great. He has a great life. I see him all the time. So it just was one friend after another, after another, after another. And so pretty soon I was booking up and had a waiting list, and everything was great. I was learning a ton. You learn a ton when you get your hands on all these dogs and different temperaments and different sizes. I did not take dogs with serious issues like Rosie had. I still don't. But it just got me a lot of experience. And so I had this waiting list, and that's why we had to move to the ranch, because I started doing some research into what was required for me in my area, for me to be able to have this kind of business. And, our county had things to say about it. Not that I had anything happen or any red flags that went up, but it was my inquiry. I was like, so hypothetically, if this is what I was going to do, because, training dogs isn't making T-shirts in your basement,
Right.
Different places have different regulations. So I wanted to abide by those. And it really came down to, I could get a commercial building, which kind of defeats the purpose of this family dog training that we do, that we're with them 24 hours a day, and we are able to really submerge them into a training environment. And I'm a mom with kids. I'm not going to get a commercial building, or we could get land and do whatever we want on that land. So that's what we did. We needed 20 acres or more. So of course we did the minimum, but that's long story short, that's where we're at now.
And that's when Cardon Ranch came about.
Yes. And it really happened so quickly. I mean, I was in business less than a year. So to go from literally, we adopted Rosie in July of 2017, and we moved here in September of 2018. So it was just over a year from when we first got our dog.
That's so cool. And your setup is it's picture perfect. It's so beautiful. At least looking at it through my Instagram, it's really nice. It's a lot of fun to watch.
And it is. I'm not going to lie. It feels that magical out here. I mean, you forget, antidepressants and anti-anxiety medicine. You just have to go outside and just take in the fresh air. It's so quiet here. There's nowhere else I would rather raise my kids, but for sure, just being out here is good for the soul. Mm-hmm.
And how many animals do you have now besides for Rosie, and what's your other dog's name again?
Daisy and Rosie.
Daisy and Rosie. How many dogs do you have animals besides them too? Yeah,
so we have 4 cats who we call our working animals because they keep mice out of all of our buildings. But we've got 4 cats and a mule that we inherited from our mail lady. She was delivering a package or a letter around Christmas time a couple years ago, and right after we first moved here, and my husband had just lost his job. He was laid off right after we moved to the ranch. And so she was like, I know Christmas is going to be tight, but would you like one of my mules?
How come it never happens in New York City?
I have no I still laugh about it because I looked at her like, no. And then my husband goes, yes. And so we got a mule. That's Jasper. And Jasper was lonely. And so a lady contacted us, the lady who works at the gas station in town, contacted us to see if we would be willing to let her board or give pasture to some of her cattle. Mm-hmm. And she came and looked at it and she's like, well, this isn't really suitable for cattle, but I see that your mule is lonely. Would you like our mini pony? So I'm like, okay, sure. Why not? I don't say no anymore. And so that's how he got Little Man. He's a miniature pony, and he actually has a bad leg. When he was a foal, he got a really bad infection in his back leg, and the farmer was going to shoot him. And this lady said, no, I'm going to take him and I'll make him better. And so she did, except that leg didn't grow as long as the other one. So if you see him, he walks kind of funny.
Like sideways.
Yeah.
He's cute.
He's cute. He's got quite an attitude. He is very moody. But he's not rideable because of that leg, but Jasper is very rideable and is really great with the kids. And it's been a while since they've been on there with him because I've been pregnant, but they'll get back on this summer. And then we have 2 goats. They're pygmy Nigerian cross goats. And they are just the sweetest. The Bo Basil and Sunny Sage, they're twins. And then we have Sam the Lamb.
Sam the Lamb's my favorite.
Yes, and he is almost a year old. I got him off of Craigslist and drove up in the pouring rain to go get him. His mom had rejected him at about 2 days old. So he was really just, getting used to taking the bottle and just kind of sickly. And so I brought him into my house. I nursed him back to health. I gave him baths. I put him in diapers. I mean, if any of your followers follow me, they know that Sam has quite the history.
Yeah.
But yeah, Sam is a California red ram. And so he is not white and he's not black, but he's actually like chocolate brown. He's pretty cool, but he got big, and you probably just saw that we had to shear him a few weeks ago.
Yeah, he looks like a different animal now.
He really does. He kind of looks like a baby.
Yeah.
Yes, he looks like a lamb.
It's like a puppy cut.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And so yeah, and then we have 13 chickens. I think that's the last count. My son, Jimmy, he's the 8-year-old. He's obsessed with chickens. And so you order chicks through a catalog. You can do that. You can look through the catalog and it's like ordering anything else.
Yeah, that's great.
You want, put in your order and then they ship them to you. So we're going to get 16 chicks because who doesn't need 29 chickens?
Right. Well, you get eggs.
Yeah, so he wants to have a little egg business. He's our little entrepreneur. So
that's awesome. That's really cool. My nephew does that. My nephew lives on a farm in Israel, and he'll sell something that he grows, and then buy some chickens, and then sell the eggs, and then let a couple of the chickens hatch, and then sell the chickens. Like business going on over there with that. I was so proud of him when I found out. I was like, "Good, you little businessman."
You know what? I think Jimmy needs to take a page out of that book because he really wants to do something. And the entrepreneur in me is like, yeah, but the logistics of it and how much work is it going to be for me to be honest, because he's still 8 and he's just, he's learning the ropes of all this. So, yeah.
It's cool. It's cool when little kids take that initiative, though. It's like a very exciting thing to see.
He's extremely driven. Whatever he does, he's going to do a great job.
So Holly asked, I know a little about your lives. Curious though how you both made the transition to full-time dog training. So I think Martha basically gave her full story, transition, and everything in that introduction. So I can tell you guys a little bit how I got into full-time dog training. Yeah. So I've been working with dogs for a while. Well, not a while, but like 5 years. And a bunch of that before that wasn't dog training. I started off working in a dog daycare and a boarding and training facility. but not as a trainer. I was walking dogs and I was watching dogs in daycare. And it was very different than what my dog training looks like nowadays. It was a very different life with dogs. But the way I like decided that I wanted to train dogs was similar to Martha, though I didn't drop my dog off and pick it up again. But I had a Marley, and he's my wild child. And like I think every good dog trainer has a wild child. And he was my first dog ever. I didn't grow up with dogs. I just always wanted one, and he was my first dog. And I did every single thing that I will tell every owner I work with not to do. I did. Like, you could make a checklist, and I made sure to do everything wrong. He slept in my bed from the day I brought him home. I used to carry him around everywhere and call him my baby, and I introduced him to people as my son. He slept, like, I would sneak him into restaurants in my hoodie. He'd sit inside my hoodie, and I'd sneak him in because he was fairly small then, although now he's huge, so it's crazy. Everything wrong. And for a while it worked just fine because like I loved him and he was a puppy and he did whatever I wanted him to do because I loved him, right? And that's what puppies do. But then he hit that teenage phase, you know, like around 5-6 months when like they start to become their own individual and their personality comes out. And he like turned around and basically said, screw you, like I'm going to be what I want to be now. And he started to become extremely leash reactive, and there's some dog aggression mixed in over there and a little bit of human aggression, although it never got to the point of biting people. I saw that it was getting there, and I that point was when I decided I had to put a stop to this. But things got pretty bad. He had some horrible dog fights. Some of the worst dog fights I've ever seen was with my own dog, which sucks, but there's nothing I can do about it at this point except go forward. And I knew I wasn't getting rid of my dog because that to me was never an option. Like, I loved him and I couldn't get rid of him, but I also couldn't keep him if this is how he was going to live, right? It was crazy. He was destroying the amount of money that has like worth of things that has gone into that dog's stomach. He's worth a lot of money at this point. Wow. So I mean, shoes, glasses, passports, everything has gone into that dog's stomach. So he's a strong dog.
Oh, man, yes.
So I knew I had to like change something, but I didn't even know where to start. And of course, every dog mom and dad in the neighborhood was telling me their advice, and none of their advice was really working. Anything, a lot of it was becoming worse. So I started to Google things and YouTube search, and I didn't have money to afford a trainer. At that point, to be honest, I didn't even know that dog training was like a thing.
Right.
I didn't know that existed. I didn't know that there was this whole industry of dog services. Like, I used to drive by the dog daycare and laugh at it. I was like, that's such a silly thing. Like, who sends their dog somewhere, right? Like, the whole thing was foreign to me.
Right.
But I started to Google things, and I started to watch, obviously, a ton of Cesar Millan. And I tried implementing whatever I could as best as I could. And that began the journey. And it was a slow process because there's a lot of trial and error, and more error than success, obviously. And eventually I rehabbed my dog, and he's awesome. Any of you who follow my Instagram see him probably every day. And we still struggle. Like, I'm going to be very real. For anyone who has a dog out there who thinks that just because I'm a dog trainer that now my dog is perfect, no, we still struggle. And like, it's a constant, you would know, right? You have a Rosie. It's a constant battle. And like, every day there's going to be new challenges that come up, but I've committed myself to making it work with him because I want him to be the best dog he can be. And I want to enjoy life with him.
Yeah.
But then what really made me realize that I can be doing this for other people is when I started working at the dog daycare, and I started to realize that my dog wasn't abnormal. He was the norm. The way he was acting was the way the average dog was acting. And like, so many dogs were leash reactive, pulling the owners down the street, aggression issues. Like, this was kind of the regular dog. The only difference is that I decided that I didn't want it anymore. But I started to notice so many owners struggling. And that was when I knew at that point when I started working there that I wanted to work with dogs, like that this was my thing. But when I decided that it was going to be dog training was when I saw that I was like, this was the average thing, and the average owner didn't know what to do with it, so they just lived with it.
Yeah, you want to share what you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, hope that answers, Holly. But I think that it's for like us, like I was saying in the beginning, the ones that oh, Holly's looking forward to you making an internship program.
I always ask people, I say it, you guys must love kids. And I know it's like, I'll get there one day, I'm sure, just not right now. My life is so much, dog training it's a time consuming part of my life, but it's not what I do all day, you know? Yeah.
Like,
so.
Martha has a whole nother job, guys. Like, dog training is just one of her many titles. She has a whole nother job. It's called being a mom, and it's like a intense job.
It is, you know, it's a lot of work, and I homeschool, so
yeah,
it's like,
so you're a mom, a teacher, a dog trainer, a wife, a ranch, whatever it's called. What is it called? A ranch handler?
Yeah, ranch hand.
Right. So that's like a lot of jobs.
Yeah, it's crazy busy. Yeah, I would there are so many people right now that are offering really great shadow programs, and I just feel like if you want to come hang out with me for a week, great. I could use your help. But we're also going to be like, it's a lot of stop and go. Let's just do it that way. I wish we could, like, when I would shadow Josh and Julie last year, it was like we trained from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. And I'm like, okay, great. Let's train a little bit now, and then we'll eat lunch, and then we'll like change the diaper, and then I'm going to feed the baby, and then we got to go feed the horse, and then we're going to cut the grass. Is that cool?
But I think that's like, it's very cool for clients who come to you is the dogs that are being trained by you are being trained with family, with real life. Like, there is no setups. There is no like, let's bring a kid in and have him pretend that he's jumping around. Like, this is real life, right? It's like day one of training, the dog is thrown right into real life with a real family with a lot going on. And that dog learns how to deal with it right away. I think that there's an awesome benefit to that.
Yeah, they have to. That's just, you can't fake this stuff.
Yeah.
Like, it is like, it's a lot of times that I'm like, okay, guys, it's really tough the first week when you're teaching stuff and you're trying to keep distractions kind of low.
Yeah.
I have to time when I do, like, my younger kids can't be awake. They can't even be conscious when I'm teaching because they are so demanding. Kids are demanding. Come that second week, I'm like, all right, guys, real life can resume.
Yeah.
Like, what was your question, dog? You wait. What was your question? You know?
That's to me like one of the best parts from like looking as an outsider. I've never been your client, but I watch all of your Instagram stories and everything. And I think that's one of the best part of your programs is the fact that you're a mom and you live on a ranch and there's a bunch of energetic kids and it's all really exciting. And like it's not anything different. If anything, it's more than what the average life with a lot of these dogs will look like. So when they do go back home, like, okay, I'm back home with like my mom and my 2 kids in the quiet city life. Like, no big deal. Like, it's nothing. I was just there. Like,
I think and I would say it depends on the dog, and it depends on what their family, you know, like it a lot depends on, you know, a dog's success back home. But I will say that I put dogs through everything that my life entails, and my life entails a lot of distractions. So yeah, absolutely. Around other animals, around other dogs, around other people. I think that the biggest thing that I wish that I didn't have to go out and seek is like neighborhood walks. Because that's the thing I have to like go actually like, okay, let's go drive to this neighborhood, park in front of some random house, and then we'll walk through the neighborhood. Right. But I mean, as you probably know, so much foundation can be laid before you're like going out and doing that stuff. And whatever neighborhood they walk in at home is going to be different from the neighborhood I pick anyway. So it all evens out. But yeah, I would say we're definitely doing a lot of proofing.
Yeah.
Even with like chicken nuggets being catapulted off of a high chair, like you can fake that, or you can like be caught off guard and just, you know, do the training exercise right then.
I mean, just the fact of being around all the other animals even is amazing. Like my
Yeah.
dogs have the two boys have been around a couple of animals because I go to my friend's farm sometimes. But like the first time we went there, I was like, they're not trained. Like my dogs are acting crazy. They're not trained at all because like they've never seen a horse before. They've never seen like he also had these pygmy goats. Like never seen any of that. It was crazy to them, and it was like I had to like say hello to my friend and then like train my dogs for 5 minutes, like just to get them straightened out so they knew how to deal with life.
Yeah. Yeah. I think even the more I learn about dogs and dog behavior and the way they relate to their environment, it's, you know, we can only do so much to prepare them for the real world and the things that they'll encounter in their lifetime. You know, I think household stuff like the vacuum, every house vacuums, you know, or, you know, people coming in and out, or food being dropped on the floor, or, you know, I actually send my owners home with like real world scenario type things that just pretty much you're going to encounter in your dog's life. But strange things like farm animals, like they may or may not ever see a farm animal in their life again. Or, you know, some of these dogs I work with, they may never go into a store ever again. You know, like just because their owners aren't really interested in living that kind of life with their dog, right? But I have to prepare them for, you know, as much as I can. You know, like there was one dog that had a specific, like they had an ATV. Well, they had a golf cart, and my neighbor had an ATV, so I kind of made those the same thing. But you know, but that was part of their life. So I recruited somebody, and I was like, "Hey, neighbor, bring your ATV over because this family, the dog chases the golf cart. Like, let's proof that kind of thing." And you know, so it's just kind of interesting to. We're always trying to problem solve and figure out proofing things. I think that's where training gets really interesting, is where we can challenge dogs. We're like, okay, so what can I do to make you break that down state? And you know, some dogs it's a lot easier than others, and other dogs are like, nope, I'm not falling for that.
Yeah, the way I look at like you said about going to stores and stuff. So like the average client I work with, they're never going to a store with their dogs. Like they don't even go to Lowe's. Like they don't go to Home Depot. Like what? Right? It doesn't matter.
I'm bringing my dog there.
Yeah, but like the reason why I do it is because I want to try to challenge the dog more than the owner's going to challenge them, so that the owner's challenges won't be as big of a deal for the dog. They'll be more ready for it.
For sure.
I think that's a very important part of it. Holly has another question. I'll let you take this. How do you guys handle clients that end up not buying in or following through with the training after you've already spent time? I tend to take it very personally, and I'm trying to figure out how to mitigate that.
Oh, Holly, you are not alone. You're not alone. I think the more I talk to other trainers about this and make it less of a personal issue, because I get down on myself. I'm like, oh my gosh, nobody else is going through this. No other trainers can relate to me because I saw their go home video. That dog looked great and my dog looked great, and their owners just seem to get it more than mine do. And I have to say, if any of my clients are watching, you know that I am extremely thorough, and I send so much homework home, and I try my very best to vet clients before they walk in the door. And, you know, conversations will go great. And I'm like, man, okay, this is the client. They're going to do great. And then they go home, and we have to realize that real life happens, and people have busy lives. And, you know, if they have kids, then that's busy. If they both work full time, that's busy. Or if, you know, maybe they were so desperate to get in your program that they're like, oh yeah, I'll do that e-collar. And then they get home and it sits on their dresser. So you are not alone. So I've talked to really who I would consider to be really successful trainers, and they've all told me the same thing. They're like, they're people. Yeah. And we can't force them. I think I've talked to some close friends about this, because I was starting to get really down on, like, you know, I see, you know, how successful some trainers seem to be. And guess what? They go through the same hardship that I do regarding this. And you're nodding your head because you know.
Yeah.
Now, I will say that I think it's really, really important to be so upfront, to be like, this is a very rigorous program. And if your program is, and most e-collar programs are, because it's a lot of education. but on the owner's part, you know, there's a lot that we'll teach the dog, but the owners pretty much have to be self-taught and then get hands-on experience, but they have to have done a lot of work up until, you know, they're actually holding the remote. Does that make sense? Because there's so much that goes into dog training that I feel like when people are looking for a dog trainer, they think, okay, great, I'll send my dog away and a robot will come back. I think a lot of people want that. And that's just not reality. And I've never seen a dog that is perfect with any person you put it with.
No, not a thing. Doesn't exist.
No, or you know, no matter what, or a dog that can only go through 2 weeks of training and be perfect without the e-collar. It's just not out there. It's not possible. And owners don't have that kind of education. They don't have that. They don't want to be dog trainers.
That's the key. That's the key right there. I think that like what's helped me, because like you said, you're not alone. Holly, you're not alone in the struggle. And like Martha, you're not. Like any good dog trainer who cares about what they're doing is going to struggle when what they envisioned for a dog doesn't end up being what the dog's life looks like. Yeah. You're going to struggle. But what's helped me a lot with it, and like I always have to remind myself about this whenever this comes up, is that I'm a dog trainer. So I really care about dog behavior and how they learn and how they live and everything. But the clients don't. They're just dog owners. And at the end of the day, ultimately what makes you a successful dog trainer, I think, is if the clients are happy. Mm-hmm. And if a client is happy with their dog going on the couch, and even though you asked them not to, right? If they're happy, isn't that the whole point of this? Yeah. Like, that's the way I look at it. And of course, like in a perfect world, every dog would follow the dog trainer's advice to the T, and they'd all be perfect, and there'd never be on the couch, and there'd never be an on-leash greeting, and all of that stuff that we talk about, it would never happen. Mm-hmm. But we don't, like, we always say it, that we don't want dogs to be perfect because they're dogs, right? We don't want robotic dogs. Like, and at the end of the day, it's just, we want them to listen, but we can't expect like the clients we work with either to be like robotic. They're going to be themselves. They're going to live their life in their home the way they choose to. And if they're happy with it, I think that you're successful. That's the way I look at it. I think if your clients were happy with what ended up resulting from the program, even if it's not what you envisioned for it, I think that that's success, because it's more to it than just what makes you happy for the dog. If we're working with clients, which we are, we're not just working with dogs, we work with people, right? Mm-hmm. And like, if the people that we're working with are happy with the results that they've gotten out of it, to me, that's a great result.
Yeah. Well, and you know, just like with anything, like what we do as dog trainers is we really are prescribing a lifestyle that we know will bring them the results that they hired us for to get. And so they don't want their dog to, you know, pull them on leash. They want their dog to come every time. They want their dog to be respectful. You know, we bring to the table a level of expectation, right? And they see what their dog can do. That's why social media is so important, because we want owners to see, we want their standard of what they expect from their dog to rise. We want them to be like, oh my gosh, well, that's way even more than I expected my dog to do. And, you know, we want to over deliver. As dog trainers, you always want to over deliver. So, you know, it's really, our expectation is up here, and the owner's expectation might never get that high. And they might not expect, you know, a double down, or, you know, realize the importance of that, or even care, you know. So, you know, there are certain things that I always want owners to be really committed. I want them to, at least in the, you know, absolutely in the beginning. That's why I give them a 90-day plan. I'm like, okay, for the next 90 days, it's not forever. All of these really strict things, I lay it out for them black and white. I, you know, give them tons of resources. I'm available to my clients for the rest of their dog's life. So if they, you know, need to message me at midnight because their dog did something crazy, like, I'm there for you, right? They're entitled to a free lesson every month if they, you know, so desire to use that. Nobody ever really does, because like you said, Russ, that they're just essentially happy that their dog isn't doing everything that it used to do before. There are owners that still struggle, and they're like, oh yeah, I'll talk to a client, and they're like, oh yeah, I jumped on the counter and ate a pizza last week, and in my mind, I'm like, how did that happen? you know, but for every other, they know what they need to be doing. Almost 99% of the time, owners who go home after a board and train and struggle know that they're causing their own struggle. Yeah. And it's not anything that we did. Our job was done well. And it's so interesting because, like, I'll see on Facebook, you know, a client, a past graduate, and I'll see their dog on the couch, or I'll see their dog not wearing the e-collar. And in my heart, I'm a little heartbroken because I'm like, that dog, I got that dog to such a great place. And why, how are they, you know, don't they want that too? And, you know, but then I see that they, you know, the next week they'll give me a referral. So I know that they're not unhappy. They're happy with the dog that they have now. And, you know, we also have to keep in mind that because we are prescribing a plan, just like a personal trainer or just like a doctor, okay? But you know, doctors don't call you after they prescribe you your medicine and go, you're taking your medicine, right? You're taking your medicine, right? Like, you know, they're not hounding you to take your medicine. It's up to the patient. It's up to our clients to take that initiative with the information we've given them. And
yep,
so
we're working with mature adults, right? It's like, yeah. Hopefully we're not working with like, see, I think it's like a step-by-step process. We're vetting the clients. So we're doing the best we could to get clients that we feel are going to be committed to the program. Mm-hmm. And then we give it our all. And we get a dog to much higher standards usually than what the client envisioned. Yeah. And then we give them this whole plan. We educate them. We give them the resources, all of that good stuff. And then they go home. And we always, I'm sure you tell your clients beforehand, I know I do, before I even sign a client up, I tell them that the success of this program really is on them, right? Mm-hmm. And they know that. And now it's up to them to actually kind of test that, to see how true that is. And what I tell people is like, I highly recommend, and I almost like implore, is that the word? Yeah. That you keep for these first 90 days, like really be serious about it, right? And then if you start to tweak things and you see that it has an effect that you don't like, you'll be able to go back to it. And if a client follows that through, then they'll actually be able to see what works for them and fit it into their lifestyle. Yeah. And the average dog owner, their lifestyle is not a dog trainer's lifestyle.
Right.
Many times, like what we were saying before, the average owner doesn't need to take their dog to Lowe's. It's like if they're going out shopping, they leave the dog at home anyways, right? The average dog owner doesn't necessarily do the things that many dog trainers envision life with a dog to be. There's a reason why we devoted our lives to like working with dogs, and why many of us have multiple dogs, and like we love it, right? And it's something we're passionate about. So it's obviously going to look different with us. Yeah. And it's important to like separate that dog trainer mindset from the dog owner mindset and let them be dog owners too.
Yeah. And I mean, I'll be the first to admit that I've had my feelings hurt, like not even directly, but just like seeing a client on Facebook, or, you know, and their dog isn't wearing equipment, or I get an update from, like, I fish for an update and I'm like, hey, so how is so-and-so doing? And they're like, oh, you know, they're doing great, but ... And I know that the answer is so simple and it's right there, but it all goes back to, we can't want it more than they do.
Yes.
A client is like, Martha, like, I've been trying really hard to work on this and it's not working. And, you know, what's your input? Then absolutely, I will go to that person's house. I will go to the moon for that person because they're meeting me halfway.
Okay.
But we can't go 100% and they're just kind of like, I don't know. You know, you would think that, you know, people spending money and time and energy, and it's their dog, everybody loves their dog. You would think that they love it and they're into it as much as we are. And that's just not true. They're just, you know, everybody's at their different level. But they essentially want a way to stop bad behavior. They want their dog to listen to them. And, you know, the rest is icing on the cake.
Yeah.
You know, that respect, yeah, but there are some clients who really do surprise me, and they take everything I say and they apply it. And I'm so proud of all of them. I'm proud of all of my clients at whatever degree they're committed. But, you know, I have yet to have a client who's like, oh, that wasn't worth it.
Right.
You know, I mean, they all, it's for what it's worth. It is effective and it is helpful to them, and their life is elevated after training.
And I think, who was it? Holly asked the question. Holly brought up the topic. So just to go back to the question for a second,
Mm-hmm.
I think it's so important that, like, I think it's so important. How long, Martha, how long have you been training dogs?
Well, we got Rosie in the summer of 2017. I went to my first seminar in December of 2017. I took my first board and train March of 2018. So it's a couple of years. Okay.
So, Holly, I haven't been training dogs that long. Martha hasn't been training dogs. You haven't been. And many people who've been popping in and out of the live haven't been training that long. Mm-hmm. I can almost guarantee you that if you ask any dog trainer, whether you've been training for a while or not, and they're really honest with you, they're going to tell you that they've had the exact same feelings that you had when they saw a dog go home and not be kept up the same way. If they're really going to be honest, if they're a real person. Yeah. And that's just the reality of it, because we're people, and a good dog trainer and a good anyone puts their heart into what they do. So it's going to affect you. But that's the best thing, is to figure out a way to train yourself to be okay with it and to be able to move on.
Well, and I think it helps. It has helped me to bolster my education component, because I want to feel good at the end of a board and train, knowing that I have outfitted them with all the information that they need. And I'm available to them. And so it helps when you, instead of just, training the dog and like talking to the owners for like an hour and being like, well, that's everything. I feel better knowing that whether or not they digest it, whether or not they believe in it, whether or not they're going to apply it, at least they have it. And I always require them to read Sean's book, which I think is really helpful for owners to kind of get their head into the relationship aspect of being a dog owner. And then I provide everything else. So I do ins and outs of e-collar, everything like that, like the education part. So then when, when they struggle at home, because they all do. We would too if we went through a board and train and we didn't know. They have stuff to fall back on, and then that gives me confidence knowing that at least they have the information and you're available to them if they have questions or if they need another lesson. I've had a couple of clients be like, "That was a lot of information. Can we do that again?"
Yeah.
I'm like,
it's so much. We're giving them so much at once. For those of you who don't know, I was looking to see if I had it next to me, because I usually do. But Martha mentioned Sean's book. For those of you who don't know what that is, it's called Love Them by Leading Them. And it's an extremely fascinating book. Like, I would read it even if I didn't have a dog, because there's so much information in there that's like just applies to life and dealing with people and relationships and everything. It's a fascinating book. Yeah. So guys, check it out if you haven't. I'm looking to see if I have it. No, usually it's like right next to me. I always have one next to me. But it's called Love Them by Leading Them, and it's an awesome book. I've read a lot of dog training books, and what I love about that book so much, just for go off track for a second, is like you could learn the how-tos of something fairly simply, right? Anybody can teach a dog to sit, really, and to do like basic commands. Right. But when you understand like the why behind how to live with your dog, and not just what to do, but the why behind it, it's so much easier to live it when you understand why. Yeah. It's very hard to be told to do something. I know, at least for me, I hate being told what to do if I don't know why. It's like, why should I do that? Give me a reason, right? And I think that a lot of people are like that. And Sean's book, I feel like, breaks down the why to everything, or the why to the how, the why to the what. Everything that we speak about and the average dog trainer speaks about, Sean's book gives the reason behind it, the mindset behind it. And that's so important.
Yeah. And part of I call it my dog owner's manual. But I think that's, because we're educating the dog. Like, that's our job. Our job is to educate the dog. And then, we have the owner do some self-educating while their dog is in training, right? And then we combine the two at the go-home session or go-home sessions, depending on your program. And so I have found it to be more effective for owners to be doing their side of things while their dog is in training, instead of just like, well, no news is good news. Watch me on Instagram or Facebook, and we'll see you at the go home session, and then come prepared to learn everything, because that's a lot. It's just a lot for them to digest. And I really want the go home session for me to be hands-on. I'm like, let's get you holding that e-collar, holding the leash, because a lot of owners have zero of either skill of those skills.
Yeah.
So it's important to spend your time doing that, because owners don't have the longest attention spans. And just because we're people, we're like, okay, this is a lot of information. But yeah, I think that also, like for my owner's manual, I have the written portion. I have, they can listen to Sean's book, the audiobook version. They have that option. And then I have a lot of videos that I have them watch. So depending on their learning style, they're able to digest information that way too.
That's awesome. I'm still working on putting all that together. Recently, I started the last dog that I sent home. I did something very different because he was like a quarantine training dog. Mm-hmm. So I had him before Corona really hit New York and everything shut down. Yeah. And it was like back and forth. I didn't want to send him home early because like it would be so bad. He'd be in the middle. Yeah. And his owners didn't want him sent home early either. Like they wanted the whole program. They were very into it. They really were invested in the program. Mm-hmm. So I ended up keeping him, and I had to come up with a way of doing a go home session. So I do go home sessions in the client's home, mm-hmm. right? But this family has 2 young kids, and they didn't really want me coming into their home, right? During everything that's going on here. And so I had to figure out a way to make this work, make the transition from me to them work, mm-hmm. without us really doing much work in person at all. Right. So, and it helped me a lot because it forced me to problem solve, which I'm now going to use a lot of these ideas for future clients. But what I ended up doing was we did like an hour and a half FaceTime session a couple days before the dog went home, just going over a ton of like lifestyle things and how to live and all these ins and outs that we, need owners to know. And it was really fun because they were all watching me on the TV and the whole family was watching. So it was very cool. And then I put together a whole series of videos customized to their dog, a special playlist customized to them, of basically everything that I would go over during a go home session, each part of the dog's day, single thing step by step in video form. And then sent that to them and had them start watching it the day before the dog went home so that they were already on board and like got it. And then I literally, it was the strangest go home session I've ever done because I literally pulled up by their house, handed them their dog, gave them their like all of his stuff, and just got in the car and said bye. And I was like, that's so
crazy. Yeah.
It felt horrible. And I was so nervous about it the whole time. I was like, I hope I didn't just make a mistake. I hope I didn't screw this up. And like, if you guys are watching, you're doing awesome. I see pictures of Duke and he looks great. But they're like a great example of clients that are invested because they immediately started putting the work in. And I explained to them exactly what they should do when the dog comes home, as if I was there with them, like what the go home session would look like. Right. And start to do drills with him and work through it and everything. And they did it. And like, they were in touch with me and I coached them through it, and they're doing awesome. I see videos of him on the treadmill while the kids are exercising on the exercise bike, and he's hanging out in place while they're doing schoolwork at home. And like, it worked really cool. And it's given me like a lot of ideas to use for future clients because I can do a lot of that for everyone and change like, everyone should have that, I think. So it was very cool. It was a cool experience, and I'm happy how it ended up turning out.
I love that. What a great idea. I do, for all of my clients, I do a mid-session video call. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of like, instead of coming in person and just sitting and chatting, we can just do it over something like this.
Right.
And those usually run about an hour and a half, 2 hours long, but we're going through a lot of like questions from the go home packet. And, this is what I've assessed your dog to, if they're, more of a pushy dog, or if we're having challenges in certain areas, or, things that they're doing actually really well on. And it gives them kind of like a personalized update. And then I usually have their dog on place next to me. So they're like, oh my gosh, my dog's on place.
Yes, that was the most exciting part to them. They were like, "Where's Duke? Can we see Duke?" And I'd like move the camera, and he was like laying calmly on place, and all my dogs were on like chilling around them. They were all together, relaxed, and like that was the best part of the whole FaceTime session.
I know. Yeah, but I do like the personalized video thing because then, they have those for future reference. Yeah. Sometimes people are really, especially in this day and age, they're really visual. So having that documentation, what a great idea. Because I'm going to do this go home session for the dog I have right now on Saturday. And I'm like, well, we're going to be outside and it'll be interesting. It'll be very interesting.
So he was the last dog that I took in until everything got crazy. And then I kind of put everyone on hold and rescheduled everybody. But this week I have my first dog coming back in. I'm really excited to have a dog to work again. And he's coming on Monday. So I'm excited for that. And he's a golden retriever, which is like really exciting for me because I have a golden retriever. So I'm excited. It's going to be fun.
Cool. Yeah. There was something I was going to say. I can't remember what I was. Just to go back to Holly's question about like, I can't remember the exact wording, but it was like, how do you get over like the lack of follow through that owners have?
Yeah, people who don't buy in, she said.
Yes, yeah. So that's not our fault. I mean, they're the consumer and we are the producer, and we produce and it's up to them to consume.
Right.
And if they don't, that's not our fault. It doesn't really reflect the quality of product that we produce. It doesn't affect the likelihood of us getting products or, making products in the future and having consumers in the future. We have to take it as a case-by-case basis. But I think what has helped me a lot is, like you said, initially on that very first conversation or the very first contact that they have with you or your business on your website is to be really upfront that everybody in the household has to be on the same page. And they have to know what an e-collar is. I get so many calls that are like, hey, I found you on Google. And I'm like, all right, start at my website, make your website like your third arm. Like you've got to make your website really, really specific because then they can show their spouse. And I always kind of cringe when I get like contact forms that are like, well, my husband isn't on board yet. And I'm like, wrong client. That's not a client for me.
So get on board and come back.
Get on board, come back. I'll be here for you. But check out my FAQ page because I
was just looking at it actually, like right before we connected, I was looking at it, and you have like everything on your page. It's awesome.
I have learned. I just learned that first of all, it takes less time for me to put it on there than it does for me to talk to people and give that kind of spiel over the phone. And a lot of people, when they're talking to you on the phone, oh, Liz, yeah, there you go. I see it. I don't know if you meant to share that with me, but I see it.
Yeah, I was showing everybody your page, like all the questions. Like Martha literally goes through every single thing that an owner can ask about a program, like everything. If you want to even every question, what do you use the e-collar for? How do you use it? Come on command. Where does my dog stay? Like literally, if you want to find out about her program, you simply go to her page and go to the FAQs, and you're going to know everything you need to know about it, which is like, that's great. That's awesome. I was looking through it before we went live. I was just like checking out your website and stuff. And I think that's the way you break things down is really very clear. Anybody who reads through your FAQs will know right away if they want to work with you or not, or if it's like, this is just not for us.
That is totally the idea. And I might not be everybody's flavor, and that's totally okay too. Yep. I want, on Instagram, for instance, like you see me in the ranch and the animals and the kids. And for somebody who isn't familiar with e-collar training, but you have a dog that needs training, you might be like, oh my gosh, she's just like me. She's going to be, really easygoing and really sweet with my dog. Cause I don't want anybody to, ruffle my dog's feathers, And I even said in my stories the other day, I'm like, I sometimes feel like I might give a wrong impression because I am this really likable, bubbly, sweet gal, but I know I also had to press an e-collar button. And
yeah, I really appreciated that. Like when you kind of went on a bit of a rant in your stories, and it's not your style regularly. And I really loved it though, because like you should save that in the highlights on your Instagram, because it's so important for people to know that. First, what you really brought out to me as the person listening to it, what I heard from that is like, yes, I am this sweet, bubbly, like happy personality, but I will hold your dog accountable no matter what, right? And that's so important for like an owner to know, whether they're planning on sending their dog to you or not, is like the way she's able to be that with those dogs, the reason why you can have that fun, soft side with them that everybody sees in your stories, and like going on these fun hikes through your hills and all that, is because of the other side of you, that you're okay with punishing a dog when it's necessary, holding them accountable, setting boundaries. Like, it's so important.
Yes, for sure. And it's like so much more than just, you know, sweet talking a dog into getting it what you want it to do. And so many owners, they use too many words, and they're, so I just wanted to be clear that, and I think that people, if they match up watching me on Instagram, which I recommend, right at the very top of my page, I'm like, follow me on social media, because that's how you get to know me. And then they also read over my website, then they get both.
Right.
So, watching people on Instagram, some people don't watch you every day, so they're only getting a snapshot of different time periods. But, I do want to be very, very clear that this program might not be for everybody. It's extremely rigorous. You have a lot of work to do. And, but this is also what I can, essentially promise you, because I don't send dogs home that I'm not proud of. So, but it is up to you. It's all in your hands. Everybody over 12 needs to be on the same page.
So let's talk about Instagram for a second.
Yeah, let's. So,
what's going on with Instagram?
Yeah. So everybody who has watched up until now, if you've gotten to this point, bless you, because I feel like I'm turning all red because I'm getting hot. The sun is going down, and the sun is coming into my window. But anyway, that I've got a lot going on, and I've got a lot of moving parts in my life, and those moving parts come with a lot of responsibility, and Instagram is one of those moving parts. And as you know, creating content is only a part of our social media experience. When we create content, we're putting things out there, but we're also moderating, and we are responding. And that content generates questions, and those questions take time to answer. And we're, our phones, our phones are glued to us, because we are especially during training, because we might, especially for me, because I use stories so much, but you never know when a opportunity will come up, a teaching opportunity. You're like, oh my gosh, this is content. And I don't call it that in my real life, but I'm just like, oh, we got to film this. I really do point and shoot. And a lot of people have found value in that. There's no doubt about it. I get messages every day.
Real.
Your stories are, it's like watching a TV show, and I learned so much, and you've changed my life with my dog. And that is fuel to me. That feels really, really good. But what doesn't feel good is when I'm glued to my phone and I have these kids, and I am trying to teach them, certain things, how to, not be super distracted by trivial and superficial things. Yeah. And here I am. Yes, I am running a business, but that means nothing to them when they are trying to get my attention. And I'm like, hold on. And so I've just kind of disconnected and taken a step back, because even though it is part of my job, and I feel like I have a responsibility and obligation, because I want to continue to grow my business. I don't want to stop getting business, but I'm trying to find a balance, because like I said, creating content is just part of the social media experience. There's the moderating, and then there's the reading of comments and the reading of notifications, but there's also consuming, because I've learned a ton from social media, and I continue to learn. And I'm not necessarily even anymore learning from other dog trainers, but just learning from, how to make bread or how to do things. I mean, you can learn anything you want. And I try to live my life on good, better, best. Instagram is not bad. it is good. I have created a world around me on Instagram. I think I have like almost 1,200 followers, which to me, I'm like, little me? Yeah. I don't have that many followers. And then I look at people, I'm like, how do you have so many followers? Like, that's insane. And I haven't done anything special to grow it, which is why it hasn't grown. But it does take a lot of my time every day. And I just have to be really aware. I think we're in this day and age where we're all about self-awareness and, you know, keeping our brains and our minds healthy and balanced so that we can serve others. And I just found myself in an imbalance where I'm like, you know, I also got into kind of thinking, you know, I do have this 1,000+ followers, and I know personally very few of them, and I am sharing a lot about my life. And that kind of scared me a little bit because I have these precious babies that I need to keep safe and protect them from people who, you know, 99.9% of my followers probably have really pure intentions. But, you know, you just never know. We're also in this world where a lot of freaky things happen. So, yeah. You know, I'm redefining what my presence on social media means. I'm not letting down thousands and thousands of people if I totally disappear. But it's like, so I find so much enjoyment of it. But there's also just this aspect where it's kind of like a ball and chain, because you feel almost like you need to keep up with the pattern you've set for yourself.
Yeah.
And, you know, wanting to grow your business. It's a conundrum. It really is. So I'm in this phase right now where I'm trying to remember what life was like before Instagram. And it's been, you know, I'm really grateful for what it's brought me. And I've had people come to me from out of state because they found me on Instagram.
Yeah.
So I know it's made me, you know, money. It's given me experience. But at the same time, I'm like, okay, I am not like all of the rest of you guys where this is your full-time job. I have a lot of other responsibilities, and people ask me all the time, Martha, how do you do it? They're like, I'm single and I'm training. You know, and
here earlier said Martha is a superwoman. Where is it? I'm gonna find who said that.
You know, and you know, the real truth reality is it's not like anything has happened or like, you know, I just feel like I've totally lost grasp of everything that I'm doing, but I don't want to. I don't want to have a mental breakdown. Yeah. Oh, Hillary, yes. So
are you looking at this as like you're leaving Instagram, or this is a break to find your balance?
It's a break to find my balance. And, you know, truth be told, I do a lot of my content, like the dog training portion. It's like making videos for, like you were talking about, personalized videos for your clients. I'm doing that through stories.
Right.
So I'm giving those owners, you know, a daily snapshot of what their dog's progress is and what to look for. And on a larger scale, it's, you know, essentially educating all of my followers that watch my stories. So, you know, it's not just, I mean, I could easily take a video and email it to the owner or send it to them just in a personal way, but I want to reach a bigger audience because somebody might benefit from it. But I also mix in there a whole bunch of our personal stuff. You know, not terribly personal. It's just like my kids running around and driving me crazy, which is entertaining at the very least. But, you know, it's just, why are we part of social media? A lot of us are part of social media because we want to keep in contact with loved ones. And then we have social media for business, and we're trying to get people to know us and like us and trust us,
right?
Hire us. So I have kind of mixed the two worlds. I've gotten really, really comfortable on social media. I've gotten really comfortable in front of the camera. My husband laughs at me because he's like, Martha, I just saw a video you made a couple of years ago and you were so uncomfortable.
I hate looking at my videos from like when I first started. I was going through like some old files recently because I was trying to organize. I had extra time and I was like editing and organizing old stuff. And I was like, I can't even believe I posted that. Like, I look horrible. Everything sucks. I didn't know what I was saying. Like, I would never say that today.
Yeah. But, you know, I think it's funny because I don't have any problem with authenticity on on videos or anything like that. What you see is what you get. And, you know, I really commend everyone out there who, like you, Russ, you make so much content and you do a ton of writing and you do a ton of videos and you are just really, you are in this. You love what you do, and anybody who hires you is absolutely lucky to have you, because your passion shows and you get such great success in helping families who need help. And that's really why we're in this business to begin with, because we don't want people to be struggling like we did. I mean, we're not dealing with man eaters, but there are all levels of struggle that you can have with a dog.
Yeah, and I think that, like you said, we're not dealing with man eaters. That's true, but the client who's struggling because their dog pulls them down the street, to them, it's just as bad.
Hurts, yeah.
Their life is miserable because of it. Like, you know what it's like. You had a dog that you said you were at rock bottom from a dog, right? Mm-hmm. And like, okay, maybe yours was a man eater, but still, like, there's a struggle is a struggle. And when you're able to help somebody no longer have that struggle, to them, you save their life essentially. Even if it doesn't, like, even if compared to someone else's struggle, it looks like nothing, but it's theirs and they're the one dealing with it.
Yeah. And you know, it's you want to be as authentic as possible so that when people do meet you, if they do get to the point where they're hiring you, they don't feel misled or anything like that. You want them to already know you. And I think I've done a really good job at that. It just has taken a toll on, you know, I mean, I don't know if the quarantine has necessarily, our life hasn't really changed a whole lot because of the quarantine, because we were home anyway. We were homeschooled. I mean, but I think it's mostly because I have another baby now, and I don't think anybody out there doesn't understand why I would take a step back from Instagram.
No, it makes total sense.
But I'll be quite honest. I get on my phone and I look for the app every time. I'm like, oh yeah, I deleted it. I'm like, it has been.
That's the problem with this. It's like, I'm not gonna lie. I love social media. Like, I love it. I think it's awesome. Like, we wouldn't be talking now if not for social media, and like so many awesome people who I've connected with. We'd never have anything to do with each other if not for social media. But at the same time, it's like strangely addictive.
It is.
Like, it's weird. Well, it's very strange.
My husband actually told me, because he's in marketing. That's his background. And so
Holly, that answers your question. Holly asked if your husband is still doing web SEO stuff.
Yes, he does. He actually works for a company called Cerner, which is a big company out here in Kansas City. And they do medical technology. And so like computer systems that hospitals use and so on. And he actually works more on the government side of things. So he's still doing marketing, but yeah, that was too much information anyway. But like, that's not really what you asked. But yes, he still does. He worked for Fox News for a while, but he's glad he got out of that. And now he's into a different sector of marketing. But he taught me that when we get notifications, it sends a hit of dopamine in our brain. And makes total sense. So there's no wonder I'm going through a little bit of withdrawal. Because I'm like, where's my hit? Where's my hit? Where's my hit? And then on the opposite end of that, if a post doesn't do as well as we wanted it to go, or we're like, oh, this is solid, this is gonna do great, and then it gets like no comments, and you're like, wait, what happened? Wait, the algorithm's wrong. You know, it gives you a hit of cortisol. It makes you a little bit stressed. And so, you know, when I don't want my kids to be growing up seeing their mom just on her phone all the time. And
it taps into that innate like need for all humans have for connection. And it makes it that we don't need to go out to get it, right? So like back in the day when people lived in small towns or tribal life or whatever it was like you had your connection from your 100 people that you saw every few days, the same people. And now it's become where you can get that same connection in a second, that same dopamine feeling that you would get from seeing your friend on the street that you haven't seen in a week because he was on the other side of the village and it took a while till you both went into the marketplace together. Now you pick up your phone, you're both in the marketplace in a second, and boom, it starts going off right away, because it's like the reason why we get that dopamine shot is because human connection is important for survival. So we need it. So it shoots it off to make it feel good when we connect with humans. So we're going to want to keep surviving. Now, all we need for that survival feeling is just, and boom, like you're feeling like you met your friend in the market, and it taps into that innate feeling. And on the other end of it, it's like if somebody like makes a stupid comment or puts simply a mean face, like a Facebook mean face, it's like, oh my gosh. And you feel it, right? Because it's that like you go to meet your friend in the marketplace and you go to give him a hug and he turns his back on you and walks away. And it's like you just walked the whole week to the marketplace and now he walks away from you. It's that same thing.
Yeah. And you know what, Russ? I would have to say that, you know, like our friendship is so much more than I comment on yours, you comment on mine. You know what I mean? Like we've actually spent time talking together and getting to know each other on a personal level. But there are so many people that I talk to on Instagram or social media. I'm on Instagram predominantly, so that's why I keep referring to it. But like it might just like we just have conversation, but I don't know them. You know, we can talk about dog training. We might have something in common, but it's kind of I long for deep connection. And I like that. I love Marco Polo for that, because we can actually have a back and forth conversation.
What is Marco Polo? I heard you talking about that.
Oh yes. It's like a messaging app, but it's video. You do a selfie video and you send it to one person. Only one person can see it. And then they have a chance to respond. So it's
like adult Snapchat.
I've never been on Snapchat, so I don't know. But it's not public, so it's only a personal conversation. And you can talk to that person for 1 minute or 15 minutes, and you know they can do the same back to you. And so you just Marco Polo, but you can get to it when you have time.
Right.
So it's not like, oh, I got to respond right now. And there's no sense of urgency to it. And it's private. So it's like you're not broadcasting a conversation between two people. But I like you're one of few people that I've, you know, been able to kind of deeply connect with, you know, and share personal, you know, histories with and things like that, which I'm so grateful for, by the way, because you're an amazing human being.
Thank you. I love it. That's one of the few things that like I love about social media. It's like, if there wasn't social media, we never would have met. I mean, obviously, if it was supposed to be, it was supposed to be, but we never would have met. Yeah. Like, you live in Kansas City. You live a very different lifestyle than me. Yeah. I live in New York City, and like, I've never been to Missouri. Yeah. And I don't know, you've been to New York, I think. Have you?
I've never been.
No. Right. So like, for those few that are real, it's very, very cool. Yeah. There are so many people who like message me or they react to my stories and I don't even know what they look like.
I know.
It's like they have a strange avatar on their thing.
Yeah.
I don't know who they are. And like,
so it's, you know, it's like I said, good, better, best. It's not bad. Instagram it can be bad, but I'm not using it for bad things. I'm not being negative. I'm not, you know, hurting anybody. And it's not hurting my family, right? But you know, there's probably better things it's good, right? And it could be better. I mean, it's added a lot of value to my life because I've met people, but is it the best thing that I could be spending so many hours a day doing? And I have realized since not having it, kind of cutting it cold turkey, that I actually have time to do a lot more than I thought I did.
So have you thought of shooting your Instagram stories and posting it, but not in real time?
Yeah, so I've considered doing that, and I've done that before. But there are so many other aspects to Instagram that I think have more addictive qualities to me. Right. You know, like I call it falling in the hole, and I have several times gone through and unfollowed like hundreds of people at a time. And I think I only follow like 200 people right now. And I don't watch all of their content every day. But it's people that I either am friends with or if I unfollowed them, it would be weird, you know? Yeah. But, you know, or I mute their stories or whatever. I've done that for a lot of people. I only follow, like, there's like a cooking one that I follow, you know, like I don't mind following them and I've learned a lot from them. But there's so much more to it than just posting and creating content and writing. And for me, because I have so many interruptions during the day, it can take me 2 days to write a post. That's not common. And it's like every free moment I am, you know, sitting down and trying to write or editing a video. I mean, there's just, I really envy people who just are able to spit out videos every day and their quality. And, you know, you write bombshell posts and I'm like, that would take me a week to write. It's there. It's just, finding the quiet moment to be able to write that is really tricky for me right now. And it could be just this phase of my life. I do have a newborn and I've got a 2-year-old and I've got homeschooled kids. So it could just be that this season of life for me right now is not really conducive to committing so much time to falling in the hole and consuming content and creating it and creating stories. I love, you know, it's a really great way for people to get to know me, but it's a great way for friends and family to stay in touch. But it is so one-sided because I don't hear anything from them, you know, like they can comment, but I don't know anything about their lives. And, you know, it's almost superficial to me, you know, the whole Instagram experience, because we're showing our best moments, you know, and it's up to us if we want to show our mistakes. But who does that all day long? Nobody does that.
Right. It's not fun.
Yeah. And, you know, I made a story a couple weeks ago. Maybe it was a couple weeks ago. I don't even remember. Several days ago, at least, where I was like, my grandma had just died, right? And like all this Corona stuff was happening. And I'm like, it's so trivial. Is this kind of dumb that I'm posting dog training stuff when all of this serious stuff is happening? And you would not believe the people that messaged me and they're like, Martha, you are a light. You are lifting so many people up. And, you know, we want to step outside of this seriousness by watching your stories. We want to see Sam running around and Danny dumping cheese out on the ground. You know, just, we want to see good things happening. And so I'm just caught in between that, okay, is serving and being present for my family, does that outweigh, you know, bringing light to a stranger? You know, so there's probably a
balance. You'll probably find the balance.
Yeah, but I do know that I was pretty addicted to that dopamine. And I was like, you know, I could just get in it. And, you know, if there are any moms out there, you know that we have to have an outlet. We've got to have some personal identity. We have to have a moment every day where we are able to take care of ourselves. Otherwise, you get lost in it.
Don't download TikTok. If you think Instagram is bad, don't go for TikTok.
I downloaded it for a day and I deleted it. It's
like the most addictive app.
Yeah.
Like when I was like, I'm not downloading it ever. I'm never gonna use it. Then like Gary Vee kept saying like TikTok. Yeah. So I went on TikTok to post content. I literally was on it for hours on end and didn't even post any content like what I was going on it to do because it's so addictive the way they've set it up. It's like they literally figured out the psychology of social media, of every single type of social media, of what's the most addictive, and put it all into one app and said like, here's your drugs.
Yes. You're the first person who has described it like that, and you are absolutely right.
Yeah, it's crazy. And I'm not going to lie. Like, I'll be very honest. I happen to love TikTok because like it's a lot of fun. There's a lot of silliness. There's even serious content on it now. But like they've figured out how to like really like optimize the addictive side of social media.
Yeah, because it's not bad. It's not, you know, like watching a TikTok video isn't bad or posting on Instagram isn't bad. But you add in all of the time spent and you're like, I probably could have done something a little bit better with my time.
Yeah.
It's a time, it costs us a lot in terms of like money as or time as money, time as a commodity. It costs us way too much than it should. And you know, everybody's different. Some people can be really disciplined with it and be like, oh yeah, I just get on Instagram like every few days and kind of, you know, check in. And oh no, I am like, from the moment I opened my eyes in the morning, I was Instagram. to the moment I close my eyes at night. And of course, I've got to like fold laundry and, you know, take care of kids and actually train the dogs. And, you know, like I was living my life, but it was every free moment that I had, I was just like glued. And it was hard to get me out of that, to be like, okay, yes, let's start making dinner. And, you know, when we brought our kids home and we pulled them from public school, like they're home all the time.
Right. So they see everything you're doing.
Yeah. So it was a way for me, and we're just getting real here because that's what we do. But it was a way for me to kind of go numb a little bit, because I'm like, okay, I'm a little overwhelmed. You guys are home all the time and you have all these needs and you have a lot of things that we need to do. And it was a chance for me to just kind of unplug, and just kind of tune out a little bit. And it just, if I got interrupted in that, I would get grumpy, or I know, hard to imagine, but I do get grumpy sometimes. But you know, like it was just almost like an addiction. I hate to admit that. That sounds so stupid. And a year ago, I would have defended Instagram and be like, oh no, that's how I'm growing my business. Like, oh no, I have to do Instagram.
Yeah.
And now I'm like, do I? Do I have to go hard at it like I did? There were some times where I would post like once a week maybe, or like once every so often. And now it's just kind of nice to kind of say, I don't know, maybe not right now. And I told my owners, the owners of the dogs I have right now, I've got, you don't even know that I have a German Shepherd in right now.
All I knew about was last dog that I saw on your page was a black dog. I don't know its name.
Nacho.
Yeah, that was the last dog I saw you with.
Yeah, she's doing great. I told her owners, I'm like, I'm going to keep her an extra week, and just kind of, I'm changing a lot. I'm just changing kind of my program a little bit. I'm changing this Corona thing has made things change. So now I have a German Shepherd in who's, you know, got a lot of issues. So I am grateful that I have one less distraction with Instagram. But yeah, so, you know, I'm sure for the short term, this is the thing with Instagram. If we disappeared off of Instagram forever, like people initially might be like, you know, oh, I wonder what they don't have an account anymore. You know, like they're not gonna hold a service for us. They're not gonna cry. You know, like it's not as bad as we might think it is. And what we can gain in real life might be a lot greater. Our businesses can still grow without social media, and stuff like that. You know, like I think that so far, I mean, I've created a ton of content. People can still go back and learn a ton. They will never, a potential client could never get through all the videos and posts and stories and highlights that I've made. They'll never get through all that. Let them watch a few and it'll be great. And, you know, it is a really, really awesome thing. It can be a really great tool. But yeah, I'm kind of enjoying this freedom.
That's cool. I'm glad you shared the whole story and everything. Guys, if anyone's worried though, she hasn't convinced me yet. I'll still be on Instagram. I'll still be there. But it's very cool. I appreciate and respect like the whole idea and why you're doing it and how you're doing it. And in essence, like what I got out of it is you're being more present for your children and for your life. And I think that's beautiful. Like the most important thing, right? Like you're a mom. There's nothing more important in your life than your kids. Like business is second. Obviously it's for the kids, but so I think that's beautiful. Like that's the best from what I took out of everything you said. Like that's the most beautiful part of it is like to be a more present mom for your children. And that's awesome.
Yeah. And it's like, you know, I love telling the story of our life. Our life is beautiful.
Yeah.
Have so much to be thankful for, and we are a light in this darkness. I mean, there's a lot of really depressing, crappy social media out there, news, and especially today. So, you know, it felt good to be a light, but it just didn't come without baggage. It did not come without strings. So, you know, and everybody's life is different. There aren't very many dog trainer moms out there.
Right.
So, you know, I don't need everybody to understand, you know, because they don't have so many moving parts. I mean, we're like a car engine. We're like boom, 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 boom. You know, we got pistons going all over the place and belts and, you know, combustion, and it's just mad crazy. And
social media is like, besides for the whole addictive side about it that we spoke about, running the social media aspect of your own business is literally running its own business. Like, there are people who literally just do, their job is just to run social media for people, and like doing it on our own, like it is work. Like, I don't just spit out posts, right? Like, I don't just like wake up and like boom, like there's a whole written thing, like you said, like a bomb post. Like, it's not how it works. Like, there's work that goes into, right? And like, for anyone who puts out social media, like there's a lot of work that goes into it. Like, my stories is no work. Like, I just pick up and start talking and show whatever's going on in my life. But like, posts are work, and I like respond to every single comment on my page, and I respond to every single DM, like, except for the nasty ones. You guys get blocked. But like, I respond to everybody who wants to engage with me, because that's, to me, the idea of it. And it's a full-time thing. Like, I can stay busy. My past few days, I've had no dogs to work. And literally, I've been working, doing social media stuff for hours on end. Just like, I'm building a Facebook group, and like, I have a whole bunch of stuff going on. And like, I was like, 4 hours just went by, and I've just been on Facebook, and I wasn't just scrolling. Like, I was working. Like, it's a full-time job.
Yes. Yeah. And people have asked me, can you hire out? Can you like get somebody to do your social media for you? And I'm like, you know, I really can't. Unless somebody just follows me around with a camera all day long.
Right. You need a D-Rock. Do you know D-Rock? Do you watch Gary Vee? No, okay. So for anyone who does, Gary Vee has like a full-time videographer, and he was like the first entrepreneur to do that, right? Because he was the first one to make that a thing, and like to vlog your life. And his guy is called D-Rock. So it became like a term that everybody uses. Like, there's been ads on Craigslist, like, I need a personal D-Rock. It became like his name, because his name is David Rock, and he called himself D-Rock. So it's like, became the term for a personal videographer is a D-Rock.
Yes.
But like, most people can't afford a D-Rock.
It doesn't make sense for the scale that I'm doing things. It doesn't make sense. So I'm going to find a balance. I'm sure I will. I'm going to miss it. I'm going to, you know, miss the dopamine.
Yeah.
I'm going to miss it. I can't do this forever. And, you know, I do have meaningful conversations with, you know, people who I've gotten close to over the last couple of years. And, you know, being able to share in their success and bounce ideas off of one another. I mean, it's a community. We really do have a community. So I'm still on Facebook. Like, my Facebook hasn't gone anywhere, but it's just not as active as my Instagram was. So who knows? Who knows? Maybe I'll be back tomorrow. Maybe I won't. I'm just kind of playing it by ear, but I am really enjoying just kind of staying present in training too, because I was it for a long time. I haven't been recording and then posting stories later. It's been real time.
Yeah.
That's just massively distracting. So, yeah, but because I'm like, I got a chance. This is my moment. I might not have time later to post or to, you know, splice this up into stories. And, you know, I think time is just a major factor. So for everybody out there who's asked me over the last couple of years, how do you do it? Well, let me just say that Instagram has fallen off of the list.
The question still stands. How do you do it? It's like, even without Instagram.
Yeah, it's just a lot of scheduling. I tell everybody we run a tight ship. I have a fantastic husband, and we tag team, but he does work full time, and he's going to start, you know, traveling and stuff like that. So it's going to be even more of and maybe that's why, because once all this Corona stuff is done, our life is just constantly changing. So it's just got to stay flexible.
All right. I'm going to pull it back to dogs for a minute.
Please. Yes.
So I'm going to ask you a question that I ask everybody who I speak to on this. What's one thing that you wish every dog owner knew?
Oh.
Like, if you could broadcast it out to the world, every dog owner is listening right now.
Yes. Something that every dog owner knew. Probably that the way their dog is right now they don't have to be that way forever.
Love it.
Mm-hmm.
Love it. That's so important.
Mm-hmm. They can change and you can change.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think so many people settle. So many people settle, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they settle for what they have now, and they don't see the potential and what could be their dog in the future if they really work for it.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that, we do so much research into how to do ... But we don't really do research on how to, walk our dog or how to live with a dog. It's just kind of been like, oh, well, I grew up with a dog and we didn't do anything. Just lived in our house. It was great. And we didn't ask very much of it. And, but, we didn't need a trainer. And I think a lot of people are misled by, media and other people and, even other trainers, thinking that, these issues are issues that their dog will always have, or that they're super easy to fix and, it should be fixed with food or, whatever. I mean, they're just not on the right path yet. And, I like this German Shepherd I have in. I mean, the intake video was like, the dog got out of the car and then just ran like a helicopter around the owner. And the owner just kept running. I'm like, this is like a helicopter.
Yep.
And, but they just don't realize that they can they're the ones in control. They can get that dog walking, by their side in less than 10 minutes. It's just like, they're so close, but they don't realize a dog's potential, or how to get there. And, like I train with tools. I love the e-collar. I made a post a little while ago about how I wish I could marry the e-collar. E-collar definitely makes your life easier. But you don't have to have an e-collar to get your dog to respect you or to stop certain behaviors or whatever. So it's like, I think I wish people would kind of widen their scope a little bit and realize that dogs are really capable of a ton. Yeah, but it's multifaceted. I think you would agree that we wish owners knew everything we do.
Yeah, well, that's very broad, but I think what you said kind of encompasses all of that. It's like there is so much potential for your dog. The dog that you have now, the dog that makes your life miserable, doesn't have to be the dog you have in a week. Like, we don't keep dogs for very long. I don't know. My program is 3 weeks. I think you said your program is now 3 weeks, right? Mm-hmm. And like, that's not a lot of time. It's really not. Like, I'd love to keep a dog for 2 months, but like, come on, it's not happening. But like, it's not a lot of time, but the potential that we bring out of that dog is so much, right? Mm-hmm. And if owners only realize that so much of that they can be doing and they can bring that potential out of their dog from day one, instead of settling for a dog that makes their life miserable, their whole life would be different.
Yeah, and maybe like a sub part of what I just said is I wish owners would raise their standards.
Yes, that's it. I love
what I thought I'd get a bumper sticker of that.
Let's do it. Let's do it. We're going to make those.
Raise your standards.
All right, guys. Whoever heard that, Martha's putting out bumper stickers.
Here.
All right. We're going to wrap this up because it's been almost 2 hours, an hour and a half.
Yeah.
We're going to wrap this up. If anybody is interested in getting in touch with you or working with you or following you, I guess the best place would be your website now, right?
Yeah. Yep, my website for sure. CardonRanchK9.com.
All right, guys. So you can check her out on her website. It's really nice. I showed you guys before. Follow her work. Yeah. I guess on her. Do you have YouTube?
I have YouTube and I have Facebook too. So I'm on all of those. Yeah.
Okay, cool. So everybody follow her, check her out, and hope you guys enjoyed. Love you all. Stay safe, everyone. Be kind to one another.
Absolutely.
Good night.
Bye.